So now in this part, we're going to be working on the doors and the skirts as you guys suggested in the votes. But before we get started, I want to show you guys something real quick. All right. So here I have two spheres. Okay. One is a splitted mesh. That is a splitted sphere. In the middle here, you can see splitted. And then I have another one, which is a full sphere. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and enable a matcap for us real quick. That's this matcap right here. So take a look at this mesh over here. Okay, so this other mesh, all right, we have a division in the middle. All right, we've cut it through the middle here, and you can see as it gets to the edge here, that is the edge over here, just take a look at the line. It's quite hard to see, but as it gets to the part where it is splitted, you can see the flow of line kind of have a bit of a destruction. I'm not sure if you can see that well. Yeah, so I think from this angle it's much visible. So you can see the light kind of pulls up a bit on this side, okay, and that's due to the fact that we splitted this in the middle. Okay, so normally in cases like this, to fix this, you would have to use a shrink wrap modifier. All right, so this is how shrink wrap modifier is useful in hard surface modeling. Okay, so for the continuous flow of reflection between two separate objects to make it look much better. So if I go ahead and then add in a shrink wrap modifier to this real quick, so I'm going to add in the shrink wrap modifier to this. All right, so we need a target onto which this mesh is going to be shrink wrapping onto to make the reflection much smoother. Okay, so in this case it's going to be this sphere because we have a full sphere without any separation in between. Okay, so if I go ahead, let me bring this back. If I go ahead and then hide this, you can see what I'm talking about. This is a full sphere and this is the splitted object. You can see these are UV spheres of the same sizes, but obviously in the middle here you can see part of this mesh pulls out a bit, and that's going to cause some issues. All right, so if I go ahead, let me hide this one real quick, the one underneath it, so we have the only separated one. So if I go ahead and then load in the other mesh as the shrink wrap guide for this mesh over here, which is a sphere, so I'm just going to search for that. It's called the sphere 001. If I load that in, instantly you can see that reflection is fixed. All right, and all of that lip that is pulling out is now flashed against that mesh to make the continuous flow of reflection much better. So if I put off the shrink wrap, you can see what I'm talking about. So look at this. Shrink wrap is off, shrink wrap is on, shrink wrap is off, shrink wrap is on. So you can see that fixes the issue for us. But in our modeling, which is the vehicle modeling, we're not going to be using any shrink wrap modifier, as I stated. Maybe in future videos I'm going to teach you guys how to use shrink wrap modifier to model cars like this, but since I wanted to keep the parts short and teach you another approach of modeling cars, I decided not to use a shrink wrap modifier because that's not going to cause too much problems, but it's definitely going to leave some issues for us in areas like that. We're just going to try to keep it at a minimum as much as possible. So if you take a look at, let me bring both of these meshes now. We don't need them anymore, so I'm just going to hide them. And now let's go back to the one on top. Okay, so this is me from the future. I modeled this to show you guys something real quick. So if you take a look at these two meshes, or these three meshes, 1, 2, 3, you can see the continuous flow of light is quite distracted around this area right here and around here, and that's because these three objects are not the same object, and we don't have any shrink wrap guide to actually guide this to follow each other much better. So this is what I wanted to explain to you guys, and this is what we might be having as the final result when we finish modeling these these meshes here, including the side skirt below. We're going to be doing that as well. So yeah, that was what I wanted to show you guys. Let's jump into the main video. So now let's jump into modeling the doors and the side skirts. So before we begin, we're going to go over here to this mesh over here. Let's go into edit mode. Now we're going to take the edge loop over here. That is all of these edges here. Let me just zoom into that area. I'm going to take all of this edge here. We're going to press Shift and D and then move this in a Y-axis just a bit like that. I'm going to press P and separate the selection. Now let me take that mesh and let's get onto the side view again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete extra vertices that I think I don't need in this area. So I'm going to take these two and I'm going to dissolve those vertices. And I'm going to dissolve this one right here as well. And I think I'm going to dissolve that one more down here as well. And let's get on up here. I'm going to take these two or these three and dissolve those as well. Alright, good. So now let me take all of those and let's get onto the side view again. So I'm going to take this one. Let me take these two here, right? I'm going to dissolve those vertices as well. So let me just take this vertex and press G. And let me move this down to about here, like this. I'm just going to press G and move this here. Let's get over to the top view and let's align it in top view. So it's this line right here, or maybe slightly inside, I think, to about this side, like this. Yeah, I think that should be good. Alright, so I'm going to add in about, let's say 5 loop cuts in the middle here. 5 should be good, yeah. And then let's align it with the blueprint line over here. So let me go into wireframe and let me put it in the middle of the blueprint line, each and every single one of the vertex. Alright, so that's looking good. Now let's get onto the top view and then align it in the top view as well. So we're just going to put them onto the blueprint line, each and every single one of them. Alright, so remember this one, I think this one right here is already on the line, so we don't have to move that one. So we just have to move this last one over here to make sure the curvature follows very nicely like that. So it's sort of a curvature that goes this way all the way down there, just like that. Alright, let me just pull this back a bit. Let me pull this forward a bit. Now I'm going to take this one as well. Let's move it a bit to about there. I think that should be good. Let's get onto the side view and see how this looks. Alright, so I'm going to get to the back view just to see how this looks in wireframe view. So you can see that curves flow very nicely from top to bottom, just like that. Alright, so that was what I was looking to achieve. Let me get to the top view and make sure everything is looking even better. So I'm just going to move it a bit more, each and every single one of them. So that should be good. Now what we're going to do is to take these two vertices here, so 1, 2, and let's get onto the top view, and I'm going to extrude this back to about here. First off, let me enable this for you guys. Alright, so I'm going to press G, and let's move it back to about here. Okay, so we're going to align with the blueprint line, so that this one is going to be in the middle, and I'm going to take this press G and move it to about somewhere here, like this should be good. And I think we're going to add in 10 loop cuts in the middle here, so 10, like that. And let's align each and every single one of them with the blueprint line. Alright, so now I'm going to make sure the extra vertices on the left that are going beyond their bounds are inside the bounds. So I'm going to take each of those vertices and move them behind that blueprint line, or pretty close to it as much as possible. Alright, very nice. Now let's go on to the side view and align them in the side view as well. Alright, so with that done, we can go ahead and proceed on to the next thing. So I'm going to take this vertex here, and I'm going to extrude it all the way back to about this side right here. So let me just make sure it's in the middle of the blueprint line to about here. And let me get onto the top view and make sure it's on the blueprint line in the top view as well. So I'm just going to move it in the x-axis to about there. Alright, very nice. So let me get onto the side view, and I'm going to add in 10 vertices in the middle of this one as well. And let's align it in the top view, in the side view here. And then we'll get into the top and align it in the top view as well. Alright, so let's get into the top view and align it in top view as well. Alright, so I think that is looking good. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take all of these vertices here, and I'm going to apply the loop tool space on this just to make sure the space in between them are equal. Alright, so now I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to press F, and I'm going to take these two and press F all the way back to about there. Now over here, this side right here, I think one vertex is not going to cut it for us. So I'm going to actually, I'm going to add in an extra vertex here. So I'm just going to press Ctrl and R through here just to add one more. And let me just pull it in the Z axis a bit. And let me take this, slide it back. Let me slide this forward a bit. Take this and slide it back. And now let me take all of these. Let me take all of those 4 vertices, and I'm going to apply loop tools on them just to make sure the space in between them are equal. Let's make sure they are pulled out to align with the one on the left as much as possible. Alright, very nice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here and add in 2 loop cuts, and let me get onto the front view. Okay, so I'm first of all going to align it with this one right here. So let me hide everything else. Let me press Ctrl and I and hide everything else, and let me take this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to shrink this out so it is matching the direction of the other 2 that we have over here. So I'm just going to press Alt and S and then shrink this out basically to about some point like that. I'm not sure if that is good enough, but I think it is. Yeah. So I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to press F twice or 3 times just to fill in that area very nicely for us. Alright. So I think that is looking great. Now let's get onto the front view. And what we're going to do now is to take all of these vertices here. Alright. Let me get onto the top view or the front view. And let me press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and S, and then X, and then scale this out to about here. And I want to press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and X, and then Y, and then scale this up in the Z axis to about there. Alright, we're going to do the same thing with this one as well. Make sure this is the active element, and make sure you have a pivoting point set to active element, just like that. And I'm going to press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, S, and then X, and I want to shrink it out in the X axis like this. And now I want to shrink it out in the Y axis like that. Alright, so I want to shrink it some more in the X axis, so to about there. And I'm going to do the same thing a bit more to this one. So Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and then S, and then X, and Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and then X, and then Y, just to shrink it out like that. Alright, so That is to transition the bulge. As it gets to the back, it pulls out even more, but in the front it's quite mellow. Alright, very nice. So let's take a look at it from the side view and see how it looks. Alright, not bad. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to press G twice and then C. And then we align with the blueprint line like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. Align with the blueprint line like that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is to get onto the side view. And I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to take this vertex here. I'm going to extrude it all the way back to about this point right here. And let me press G and then pull it up to the center of the blueprint line like that. And let me add in 10 vertices. I think it was 10 vertices we used. So I'm going to add in 10 vertices. And I'm going to align it in the side view with the blueprint line. Alright, nice. Now let's take a look at how this looks in the top view and align it much better. So I'm going to go over to the top view here. And I think this is the line it's supposed to follow. So let's pull it out in the y-axis. Is the exterior line we're seeing here. So let me take this and then pull it out a bit. Just like that. And I'm going to align the rest with the blueprint line. Alright, nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these ones here. I'm going to extrude it in the z-axis to about this point right here. So let me just take this and then press G and move it onto the blueprint line. That's the last one right here. I'm going to align it with the blueprint line like that to about that point. And I'm going to take this one and press G. Let me just move it down to about here. And let me do the same thing with the next one to it. And we're going to do this all the way to the right. Alright, now we're going to apply loop tools to that edge all the way to this one right here. So I just apply loop tools and space just to even out the space in between them very nicely. Alright, now I'm going to take 1, 2. Actually, let me add in an extra loop cut here. And let me press G twice and then slide this vertex down to about here. And I'm going to take that 4 and press F. Alright, now I'm going to align this in the top view as well. That is all of these vertices here. Alright, so let's align it in the top view. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press G and then X and move this in the X axis. Let's align it with the line we're seeing up there. Okay, so that is the line in the middle. We're going to align it with that line very nicely. Alright then, so that is looking good, except that is not supposed to be the line that is supposed to be following. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect this. I'm going to press G and then X and move this inside a bit because that line is below this line that we're seeing here on the blueprint. So I'm going to press G and then X and move this in some more, just a bit more to about somewhere here, just to pull it in a bit. And you can see this one right here still not matching with the blueprint line. So what I'm going to do is let me just pull this back in the x-axis just to follow the curvature much more. And I'm going to take all of that edge, making sure that this is the active element. And let me get onto the top view. And I'm going to move over here. I'm going to press Ctrl Alt Shift and then S and then X. And then share this inside until it falls in the middle of the blueprint line like that. And that should be good. Alright, so with that done, what we're going to do is to take all of these vertices here. And I'm going to extrude it in the z-axis just a bit, so E and then Z. I'm going to extrude it in the z-axis just a bit until this one is about the middle of the blueprint line like that. And we're going to make that the active element. And what we're going to do is to share this in the y-axis all the way down to the middle of the blueprint line below, like that. And let me just press S and then X. I'm not sure if that is working. I mean S and then Y. And scale this in until it falls in the middle of the blueprint line like that. And now all we have to do is to move this manually into the middle of the blueprint line. Alright, so now what we're going to do is to add in an extra loop cut or vertex in here. And we're going to slide that all the way up very close to that area right here. And I'm going to take those 4 and press F. Alright, very nice. So now let me take all of that edge. That is from here, from this vertex here, all the way to that one, and let's apply the loop tool space on this just to make sure the spaces in between them are equal. Alright, now I'm going to take this vertex last. That's this vertex right here. Let's get onto the top view. Or actually, what I want to do is, let me leave this one, alright, and let me make this the active element instead. This one instead, and that is where we're gonna share it from. Okay, so I'm gonna press Ctrl Alt Shift S and then X, and I'm gonna share this all the way inside to about some point like that. I think should be good. Is that good enough? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Alright, so now what we're going to do is to get into side view. And I'm going to take these 2 vertices here and press F. And I'm going to add in 5 vertices in the middle here. The same amount that we have on this side. And now let's get onto the side view here. And let's make sure this side is also curved out as much. Okay, so I'm going to press Alt and S. And I'm going to shrink it out to about here. And I'm going to deselect the exterior ones and then shrink it out some more to about somewhere here. and I want to leave that one and then shrink the final one out to about there, and that should be good. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 4 here and press F, and I'm going to take these 2 and press F all the way to about here, and let me add in those 5 loop cuts again, and let me get onto the back view, and I'm going to press Alt and S and then shrink it out just to follow the curvature of the vertex that we just did in the back here. So I'm going to press Alt and S and then shrink it out, and I'm going to press Ctrl I to reduce the selection, and I'm going to press Alt and S again to shrink it out just like that, and I'm going to press Control and I again to reduce, Control and I to reduce the selection. Control and minus, Control and minus, not Control and I. Yeah, so I'm going to press Alt and S and then shrink this out some more to about there, should be good. So you can see we have about equal spaces from top to bottom, just like that. Now I'm going to take these 2 here and I'm going to press F all the way down to the bottom like that. Alright, now the final thing we have to do is to make sure this one is aligning with the one on the side right here. So before we proceed, I'm going to take each of these 2 vertices and press F just to fill the gap in between all of them, all the way to the bottom like that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this vertex here, including this one. I'm going to press H to hide it, and I'm going to do the same thing up here. Take all of those and hide it, and I'm going to take the rest and then hide them. Alright, so first of all, I'm going to take this, so from this all the way to that, and I'm going to make sure this is the active element. And let me go over to the top view, and I'm going to press Ctrl Alt Shift S and then X, and I'm going to shrink this out until the curvature is nicely following like that, all the way to the back, as you can see. Very nice. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the next one, and I'm going to shrink it out as well, so the curvature is following very nicely, like that. I think that should be good. Maybe a bit more. And I think, yeah, that should be good. Yeah, very nice. And I'm going to move on to the next one. So I'm going to be doing this all the way to the bottom. So let's look at the third one. So the third one as well, I'm going to shrink it out until it follows the curvature very nicely. I think that should be good. Yeah, that's good. And I'm going to take the next one. Let's get over to the top view. I'm pretty sure that's the final one, maybe. And I'm going to shrink this out as well to about there. Let me shrink it out some more. I don't want it to go beyond the last one over there, so I'm just going to press Ctrl Alt Shift S, and I'm going to press negative, and I'm going to type in 0.001 just to keep it about the same level as that one, just a bit, just like that. Alright, and finally we're going to do the same thing with this one as well. I think that one is also pulling it a bit. Yeah, so I'm just going to do it for that one just a bit. So Ctrl Alt Shift S and then X, and I'm going to type in negative 0.001. Well, let me try 2. Yeah, so 2 is pretty good. So negative 0.002. And now let me press Alt and H to bring everything back just to see how nicely this follows it from the back to the front. And I think that is looking good. Alright, so I'm going to take these 2 vertices here, and I'm going to press F all the way down to the bottom. And I think that should be looking great. And it is. Alright, now let me get onto the side view. And I'm going to take all of these vertices here. Alright, I want to extrude it in the Z-axis down to about this point right here. Let me get into the wireframe. I'm going to pull this right here, and now let's align it on the line below. Alright, very nice. Now I'm going to take this vertex here, this vertex right here, all the way to about this one right here, and I'm going to apply loop tools and space to this just to make sure the spaces in between them are equal, just like that. And I think that is looking good. Now let's take all of that vertices now, and let me get to the top view. I think it's pretty good in the top view, but let me get to the side view here, and I'm going to pull it in the x-axis a bit, okay? So just to kind of follow the curvature from the top here, I'm just going to pull it in to about some point there, in the x-axis to about there. I think that should be good. I don't know if that is going in too much, but looking at the reference image, I think, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, I'm sure. Let me just make this the last element, okay, of selection, and I'm going to scale this in the x-axis just so it is flattened. Is that the active element? Yeah, I think it is. So I'm just going to press S and then X and then scale this out in the x-axis just so this area is a bit more flatter than bulged in. Alright, so it's S and then X, and I'm just going to pull it out about like that from top to bottom. Let me get to the front view and make sure I'm getting this right. Alright, so I think that is looking good. Select the object and then enable the subdivision for this, and we're gonna have something like this. Alright, so that is looking good. Now we're going to go ahead and then add in extra loop cuts just to define the edges much better. So let me go into edit mode and let's begin with this one right here. So I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here, and I'm going to press E and then align it with the one on top and pull it as close as we can, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing here, press E and then move it as close as we can to about some point like that. Let me get onto the side view and let me bring this one down a bit more. Or maybe we could keep it there. You know, let's keep it there. And I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here and then add in one in there as well. And I'm going to press E. Hold on, let me take a look at it from here. So I'm going to press G twice, and then I'm going to press E, and then F. Align it with the one on top, and let's bring it quite low, not too low. I mean, not too close to it, like that. And let's get on over here. We will have a bit of an issue here. So I'm going to take this vertex here. I'm going to slide it up to about the middle, like that, just to define that area much more. And now what I'm going to do is, after adding in the subdivision surface, let's define this area a bit more. First off, let's bring the other meshes, the other surfaces back, alright? And now let me shade smooth this object over here. So you can see right here, this mesh right here pulls back a bit. So we have to fix that area before we proceed. So I'm going to take all of these vertices here, alright? We can make sure that is the active element, that is the one in the middle here, is the active element. And let's get onto the top view. And let's align this much better, alright? So I'm going to press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, S, and then X. And I'm going to shrink this out to about some point like that. I think should be good. Let's take another look and see if it's on the same level. Alright, so it's pretty close. Or maybe that might be too much. I think so. Yeah, that might be too much. So let's try again. And I'm going to pull it out in the X-axis. So just a bit. Let me pull it out a bit like this first. I'm going to press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, S, and then X again. I'm going to type in -0.002. I mean negative 0.002, but I'm going to go with 0.001. Or let's try 0.0005, just to pull it out a bit more, like that. And now let's take a look. Yeah, so I think that is looking great. I think that is matching just the way we want it to. So yeah, that is good. Now we can go ahead and then add in the extra loop cuts now. So let me press Ctrl and R through here, add one more in here. I'm going to press E and then align it with the one on top, pretty close like that. Let's just make sure we select this one as well, just to be able to know how close those supporting edge loops are. And I think we got that right. Now let's do the same thing here, press E and then align it as close as we can, like that. And now we have to do the same thing in the middle here. So I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here and pull it as close as we can, like that. Let's take a look at it from the back here. And I'm going to press G twice and move it as close as we can, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Pull it as close as we can, just like that. Alright, that is looking good. And I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here, and then add in an extra one in here as well. So press E and then F, align it with the one below, and let's pull it as close as we can, like that. Alright, so that gives us that nice area we have down here. And already you can see that is looking really great. Really great. And I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here, add in an extra loop cut on top here. Let's pull it as close as we can. But let's make sure we use this to tell us how close it is. And I think that's about close enough. Yeah. I'm going to add one more in here as well. Press E and then F and pull it as close as we can, just like that. Alright, so I think that is looking good. Let's bring the other mark up just to see how this is looking. Alright, so not bad. You can see the line is flowing quite well. I mean, the reflection is flowing quite well, but obviously, like I said, like I explained at the beginning, it's not going to be perfect when we apply the color paint to it. It's going to have some sort of direction changes in those two, between those two objects for sure. Alright, so not bad. Alright, now let me get into the side view, and now we're gonna work on the next part. That is this piece down here. That's this small piece down here. Now we're not gonna work on the side skirt because I think we have to finish this back area right here, the area that is back here. We're gonna have to finish that to be able to use that to help us define this area down here. That's the side skirt down here. So we're gonna leave the side skirt and then finish this small piece that we have down here. So let me just take this object, go over into edit mode, and I want to take this mesh, this edge here. I want to press Shift and D and then move this down to about some point here, making sure it's in the same direction and angle as the one on top, just like that. And I'm going to press P to separate the selection. Alright, now I'm going to take that one now. Let's go into edit mode. Let me take this and then move it into about here. Take this vertex and dissolve that vertex. And I'm going to take these two vertices here, dissolve them as well. And I'm going to take this final one here and dissolve that one as well. Alright, so let me take this vertex now. First off, let me take the whole thing and move it in the y-axis a bit more to about there. I think that should be good. And let me move this back in a bit more to about there. Alright, I'm going to take this and I'm going to extrude it all the way down to about this side right here. Let me just press G and then move that to about there. I think that should be good. And I think I'm gonna add in about 5 loop cuts in here. And let me just press G and then align them onto the blueprint line. Alright, now I'm gonna apply loop tools on these just to make sure the spaces in between them are equal, just like that. And I'm gonna get over here as well. I'm gonna take this and then extrude it. First of all, let's make sure this is aligned very much well with the blueprint. Alright, so that's what I'm going to make sure of right now. So let me just take this and then pull this in here a bit. Pull this in there. And then let's take these two and pull them in there like that. I want to take the last one and then pull it in a bit more just to kind of align with that area much better. Just like that. I think we'll have to pull it in some more. So let me just pull it in some more like that. Take this and pull it in some more. Not sure if that is good enough. Yeah, it's pretty close. Let me get to the front view, make sure we can see this much better, and let me pull it in some more. Alright, not bad. Let me pull this in. Let me get onto the top view and see what we got. Alright, not bad. Let me take this and then pull this in some more like that. Pull this in and pull this in some more. I think that should be good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now let's get onto the side view and let's do the same thing over here. So I'm going to extrude this all the way down to about this side. That is down to over here. And I'm going to add in 5 loop cuts in here as well. And let's align it with the blueprint line, just like the one on the left. Alright, very nice. Now I'm going to make sure they're on the same level. So I'm going to take this and then this, press S and then X and type in 0 just to make sure they're on the same level in the x-axis. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm just going to press Shift and R to repeat the command all the way to the top. Just make sure the one on the left is your active element. Just like that. And I'm going to take those 4 and press F. And I'm going to take these 2 and press F all the way down to there. Now let's get onto the side view. Let me take this and then slide it back a bit. Alright, now I'm going to take this, press Ctrl and R through here. And let me leave that around somewhere here. And let me take this, extrude this forward to about here. And let me take this, press G, and move this to about there. And I think that should be good. Let me get onto the front view, make sure it is aligned with this area right here. So I'm going to pull it back so it is aligned with the vertex we have next to it right here, like that. So let me just take those two, get into edit mode. And I'm going to take this and then this. I'm going to press S and then X and type in 0, just to make sure they're aligning the x-axis in the same level, just like that. Alright, very nice. Now let's get onto the side view and let's see how much we're going to need over here. So let me take this and, let me take it from here all the way to here. And let me press Shift and D and move this in the y-axis to about somewhere here. So we have to separate this edge over here first. And I'm going to take these two and press Ctrl J to join them. And now let's go into edit mode. Take this vertex, take that one and press M and then merge it at the last, just like that. And I'm going to take these two and let me dissolve those vertices. Alright. Now I'm going to take these two as well and press F just to fill it in. Let me take all of these vertices here. Let me press G and then Y and move this inside a bit like that. Let me take this and pull it out a bit. Alright, now we need equal amounts of vertices on this side, just like we have on this side. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's see how many we have here. So we have about 5 of them here, and here we have about 4 of them. So I'm going to add in one more in the middle. And let me take all of these. I'm going to apply loop tools on it just to make sure the amounts of, the spaces in between them are equal. And I'm going to take this one and then slide it down a bit to about here. And I'm going to slide this up to about here. Take this, slide it up. Oh, let's try applying loop tools on them again and see what that gives us. Alright, not bad. Let me slide this up a bit more. And I'm going to apply it between this one as well. Just like that. And I'm going to take these two now and press F. All the way to there like that. And I'm going to add in an extra vertex in the middle here. And what I'm going to do is, let me leave this one. Let me leave this one right here. And then leave that one as well. And let me get onto the top view. And I'm going to shrink this inside just a bit. So just press Alt and S. And let's shrink this inside to about somewhere there like that. I think that might be too much. So let me undo that. And let me just shrink it in just a tiny bit first. Just a tiny bit. That's too much. Like that. And now I'm going to take these two right here. This vertex here. Make sure that is the active element. And let's get onto the front view. And I'm going to press Ctrl Alt Shift S and then S. And I'm going to shrink it in just a bit more. Like that. Not too much. Just a bit more. Okay, maybe we're gonna have to go in a bit more. Let me go into wireframe so I can see this much better. So Control Alt Shift S and then X, and then I'm just gonna shrink this in some more. I think that should be good. Let me take these two and fill them in just to see what we got. Alright, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay, so let's enable subdivision surface for this one as well, just to see what we have. Alright, now we can go ahead and add in supporting edge loops. So I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here, add one in here, press E and then F. Align it with the one right here. And I'm going to add in one at the bottom here as well, press E and then F. Align it right there. And I'm going to take these three, make sure this is the last selected, and I'm going to press M and merge it at the last. And I'm going to take all of these and dissolve the edges. And I'm going to do the same thing on the inside, so press E, align it with the one on the left, and then E and then F, align it with the one below. And I'm going to take these three and then merge it at the last like that, and I'm going to dissolve these two over here just like that. Alright, very nice, not bad. Now let's select object and select shade smooth just to make sure that the surface is very smooth. Now let me get onto the side view, get into edit mode, and I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here to add in a supporting edge loop, pull it up close to about this side, and let me do the same thing here, E, and then align it with the one on the left pretty close enough like that. And I'm going to do the same thing here as well, press E and pull it as close as we can just like that. And finally we're going to do that on the bottom, press E and then align it as close as we can just like that. And I think that should be looking good. Alright, it's looking really good. If you think this area is pulling in too much, you can shrink it out some more if you want. So let's take these two, or these three, and I'm just going to shrink it out some more. I'm not so sure. I'm just shrink it out a bit more, even though I think it's, I'm just going to leave it like that. Just make sure yours is looking much better and you should be good to go. Alright, now let me take this one over here. Let's get onto the side view and let's add in supporting edge loops to this ones as well. So I'm going to press Ctrl and R through here, press E, and align it with the one on the left and pull it as close as we can like that. And I'm going to do the same thing down below, E and then F, and I'm going to pull it as close as we can like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, press E and then F, align it with the one on the right just like that. And let's get onto the top view here, and I'm going to do the same thing here, align it with the one on the left just like that. Alright, so I think that is looking really good. Now all we have to do is to apply solidify to each of these pieces, but before we actually do, let's go over into edit mode here, okay, for all of them. Now you can see we have a bit of change here, because if you take a look at this, the topology here, this one right here has an extra vertex in the middle here, and this one continues down here, so we'll have another one in the middle here, and we'll have another one here all the way down below, okay? But that is not what we're seeing here. What we're seeing is completely different, okay? So maybe if we want to fix this, what we can do is to set this piece over here as a shrink wrap guide, okay? So you're gonna have to use a shrink wrap in this case. Make sure this is a shrink wrap guide. Get onto the side view, and what you're going to do is to add in the corresponding amount of vertices that you need. Now over here you're going to need like one more. So that is, you've separated this you've duplicated this object here already, and then you're going to make that a shrink wrap for the new mesh you're going to create, and then you're going to add in an extra vertex here just to make this 2, and you're going to add in one more in here, and maybe the rest might be equal, and all you have to do is to just apply loop tools to it and then make sure the spaces in between them are equal. And then you're just going to shrink wrap that new mesh onto the old guide mesh that you created from the duplication of this one on top of it, just to make sure that it follows it very nicely like that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and then maybe I might do this off camera, or I might do it in the next video, but whatever I do, I'll let you guys know. So let's go ahead and then add in a solidify to this mesh right here. And let's make sure it is only rim, and then let's enable high quality and even thickness. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one as well. So solidify, only rim, high quality, even thickness, just like that. Alright, very nice. Now let me get onto the side view. I think we have a bit of an issue here. Let me take this. Why is it doing that? Okay. Let me just press B and then select all of these. And let me just make sure it is set to active element. I don't think we have an, yeah, there we go. Alright, now I'm going to pull this in the y-axis just to close the gap down a bit, like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here as well. G and then Y. No, not those ones. Just these ones right here. Yeah. And I'm going to move it in the y-axis to about there just to close down the gap a bit more. And I'm going to do the same thing over here as well. And finally, the one below. Alright, so I think that should make it look much better, which it does. And yeah, so let me enable the other what do you call it, markup right here, and you can see that is looking really good. All right, not bad. So you can go ahead and then apply the solidify to each of these meshes. I'm going to do this off camera, but you can go ahead and then apply each of these to each of these parts here. That's these two pieces here. You can apply the solidify modifier to them and then dress them just like the way we did with the ones over here, because I feel like I don't have to do this on camera because it's obviously the same thing that we did with these two pieces over here. So you can go ahead and then do that yourself as well. So this is where I'm going to end this video, and like I said, we're not going to be modeling the skirts because we have to finish this piece back here first before we model the skirts. So this is where I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video.